Welcome to episode, I don't even know what episode we're on now, guys. I think it's 6 or 7.
Episode, whatever number it is.
Whatever number it is. This is the best one, though. We're past 5, though. And today we have a very special guest. You guys don't need an introduction, but everyone will know her. But this is Superintendent Lezlie Winter. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, and then, of course, I am your host, Derek Gowan.
I'm Zaire.
And I'm Peyton.
And we will get to started just kind of how we do every podcast here. Just tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you're from, and the kind of how you got into your job here.
Okay. I was born in Marion, and I grew up in Jonesboro till the 6th grade, and then we moved to Marion. And then from 6th grade to the time I graduated from Marion High School. Went to Ball State.
It's okay. We'll forgive you.
Went to Ball State to get my undergrad degree and my principal's license, and then came back to Mississinewa really, I started as a paraprofessional in 1981. It was difficult to get teaching jobs back in 1981, and Dr. Bothwell, encouraged me to be a paraprofessional. And for 2 years, I was a paraprofessional, and I filled in for teachers in Mississinewa Community Schools that were on maternity leave.
Oh, wow.
So that was really, it was exciting because I got to learn a little bit about every position early in my career. And then I filled in as a guidance counselor for a year for a guidance counselor that had fallen ill. And then I actually taught PE for quite a few years and coached. And then got married in 1987. My husband was from Los Angeles, so I moved to Los Angeles and taught in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, which was an extraordinary experience. I was the only non-Spanish speaker on staff, but it just exposed me to so many different cultures and what globally how people that lived outside of United States, how proud they were to be able to be in United States. And that was just an outstanding experience. I became very close with a priest of that archdiocese because my husband traveled a lot in his job, and I was able to travel all around Southern California with him in many different capacities. He enjoyed athletics. I enjoyed athletics, so we were able to watch a lot of different athletic events. Then in 1991, my husband took a volunteer transfer back to the Midwest, and we ended up in Albany, Indiana. And we bought a flower shop, and I had intended to run that flower shop and have about 10 kids. And I was bored to death doing that after 1 year. And so I went to Muncie Burris to teach and coach, and was promoted to athletic director and assistant principal there. That was just another extraordinary experience. I got exposed to what I would consider very innovative way to approach education and to meet all students' needs. I came back to Mississinewa as an assistant principal. It was going to be a 1-year stop for my family. I may get my years a little bit off, but I think it was 1998, and here I am 27 years later, retiring as the superintendent.
So you've been all over the place.
Right.
Been all over the place, and you don't realize it at the time when you're going through each one of those situations, just how powerful of experiences those are, and being able to work alongside and be exposed to so many different philosophies, cultures. I think it just really gave me a great perspective on how I would want to lead a school and lead students.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of very valuable experience from like a lot of different places too, just giving you, something different for each situation that could come up.
You're exactly right.
And so with that, what place do you feel like you grew the most as an educator and just like dealing with just different things that may come up? Where do you feel like you grew the most?
Okay. Definitely Mississinewa Community Schools. As I mentioned earlier, this was going to be a 1-year stop, and I had started my teaching career out here and just absolutely loved the students. And a lot of the students that I had now were parents. when I came back as an administrator.
Does that make you
And
feel old?
I am old. I turned 65 Saturday, so I am
well,
very
happy
old.
belated
Thank
birthday.
you.
Yeah.
But I just fell in love with the students and enjoyed working with the parents in this community. And I just felt a real calling to stay here during that time. So my favorite experience was Mississinewa Community Schools.
It's a great place to be.
Amen.
It sure
Well,
is.
so you said that you plan to make a 1-year stop here. So what motivated you to? You said you felt a calling. What was your motivation to actually move up and become the superintendent?
I really never saw myself as a superintendent or a high school principal. When I said a 1-year stop, I thought that I would be going possibly into college athletics as an administrator, and I just felt a calling to stay here and work with the students at Mississinewa Community Schools and look for different ways to develop programming and opportunities for them that I had learned at my previous 2 stops as an administrator. And then the opportunities just lent itself to continue to progress in my role, and that's really the best way I can explain it. I moved out of the principalship because my son did not want to be in the same building with me. I wasn't really quite ready to leave the principalship because I absolutely love working with students and I love being around them. But I felt like he and his dad made so many sacrifices that, I had the opportunity to move into central office as assistant superintendent, and you're just so far removed from students in central office as far as that day-to-day contact that you have. But I still feel very blessed to have had every single one of those opportunities.
You may be far from students, but as a teacher, I can speak for this. That love that you have for students definitely trickles down to the love you have for teachers now. So we truly appreciate that as a superintendent. But you talked about how you kind of wanted to go into athletics. And we've talked about this before, but you're a big sports person.
Yes. And fine arts.
And fine arts, yes. And that's what, I was a marching band in high school, so I'm all fine arts too. So, but athletics, what was your sport? If you had to say one, what's your thing?
I probably excelled in tennis. That's what I played at Ball State, but I prefer team sports. I like that atmosphere of working together as a team to accomplish something, but unfortunately I'm very slow, and so that affected some of my opportunities at the college level in some of the team sports.
Well, we've had a pretty successful tennis program here at Mississinewa
Yes.
over the last couple decades, so that's got to be fun for you to watch too.
Yeah.
And I remember you mentioned this to me at one point. Are we still good to hold you to commentating some of our games?
Oh, definitely.
Get Miss Winter up there to commentate a football game or a baseball game or something?
I look forward to doing that and having the time to do that. I don't know if I'm going to be as talented as these young people, but I am looking forward to that. And you will see me around often at events at Mississinewa.
Right. And that's always great to see, It feels a lot more personal when you see the people who are leading in your community at smaller events, not even a playoff basketball game. It'll be random game in the year. Hey, there's the principal, the superintendent, assistant superintendent. And that just kind of adds, to the kind of community we have. And speaking of, a lot of people have talked about, this is a great place to raise kids. This is a very family-centered community. So what do you think makes our little community here around Mississinewa so special and such an attractive place for people wanting to settle down?
In the 3 corporations that I've worked in my career, I have never worked in a school system in a community where parents are so supportive and the students are so supportive of the changes that you want to make. And if the parents and students trust you, and they will support you in any type of opportunities that you want to provide their child. And to me, that's very, very special. And I love that atmosphere. I love the atmosphere, the way the mayor's office and the schools are working together. It's creating a lot of opportunities for the school system and for the city. Mayor Rock, I believe, really respects my position, and I really respect his position, and we're able to support each other when we look for opportunities how to move both entities forward, because really it's one entity. The school system is a definition of the community, and the community is a definition of the school system. So that's what really motivated me and my family to stay here, is just the love of the people and the students.
Yeah, and real quick, Peyton, I'm going to let you ask a question here, but one of those community/school kind of combos that we've seen being built over the last year or so is that new music center. So, and I know a lot of people, we talked to Mayor Rock about this a couple podcasts ago, and he told us about Carly Jackson and all those people, but we're not going to say anything here. But what has, I mean, you went through the mayoral change and then all the process of having to redo all that and all this stuff. So what does the music center do for not only the city, but like the school system?
First of all, I had utmost respect for the previous administration. They're the ones that planted the idea for the auditorium. When Mayor Rock became the mayor, we met quite a few times, and his vision for that was to change the culture, not just for Mississinewa Community Schools and the students, but to change the culture for the community in East Central Indiana, and I believed in it. And I believed in what he wanted to accomplish with that, and he did it. And by doing that, I think it enhanced the facility very much. I have only had a chance to peek in there a couple times, but I think that we're going to be very proud of that facility as a school system and as community members, and I think it's going to be a positive for our community in so many ways. Yeah. So I support 100% his vision for that community center and that music establishment, and I think we're going to be proud. I can't wait either.
I think it'll be fun. Too bad we can't hold graduation there.
It's not big
just
enough.
Slightly too small, but
yes.
Hey,
that would be fun though.
Some concerts, man, some choir concerts.
They will be in there.
The plays, the musicals.
Theater will be our theater program. I've only been a part of it like 2 years or so, but oh my gosh, they're gonna just flourish with.
You're gonna be on a state-of-the-art stage with state-of-the-art sound systems, and
that'll make my job so much easier. Everything will just be in one spot in the back. It'll be great.
Right.
And we're going to be able to have more people attend. I couldn't even get a ticket for the middle school. The school board president or myself, we were too late in getting a ticket, but we were thrilled to hear that. We were sorry we missed it, but we were very excited that we sold that
even
out.
The high school ones that are in the CSA building up there, it's just such a small, you can't fit that many people in, and they always sell out, so that'll be fun.
Let's hope they continue to sell out.
That would be a great sellout.
So you're kind of like, the big boss of the school, right? Like
the big kahuna.
Who would you say is someone that you've looked up to or has been like a role model to you, like throughout your life or more recently, whatever? Like,
Well, I have many people throughout my life that have just been outstanding role models and people who I looked up to in my professional career. I still very close to my 3 high school administrators and teachers that helped me during my time in school. I was considered an at-risk student, and all 3 of them attended my retirement party last week, and I think that's just an outstanding feeling. And they're Jack Colescott, Carol Sector, there's 4 of them, Terry Freitas, and Carol Matchett. And that's exciting for me to be able to keep those connections.
Yeah, that's really cool.
All these years, and that's 50 years now, so that's exciting. In my professional career, I have just been blessed with extraordinary role models. One of them, her name was Carol Caldemeyer. She was an elementary PE teacher at Burris Laboratory School, but she treated that like she was training an Olympic team. she took so much pride in it, and she actually was awarded Elementary Teacher of the Year for it.
wow.
And she just had such a positive attitude about education and how important education is in the life of the students. And I just could go on and on about how many positive role models I've had in my life. And even though I am going to turn 65, I still ask people for advice, and I still look for help from other people. And I think that strengthens you when you have the ability to say, I don't quite understand this, and reach out to people who can help you.
Okay, I'm going to I didn't send you this question,
Okay.
but I'm going to throw you a curveball. Just because you're talking about you're still asking for advice and whatnot. So part of it is on this, but so two-part question. One, what's some piece of advice that you would give to a student nowadays or a college student or whatever that has aspirations to be in administration? And then also, what's one of the best pieces of advice that you've gotten throughout your career on how to do your job or just in life general?
I think one of the best advice I was ever given, if you are going to be a leader, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to probably not have a whole lot of close personal relationships, and that if you're putting the priority of the students first and the teachers, understanding the teachers are the foundation, then it will be a lonely job. And they were correct.
That sounds sad.
It very much is, but I think that culture's changing a little bit with our administrative team that they have right now, and I encourage those professional relationships, with your colleagues. But my advice for anyone wanting to go into education is do it. It's the most rewarding career that you can have. And unfortunately, in the United States right now, we treat teachers, and the narrative is so negative for education. I still think it's the greatest profession that anyone can do, and I believe it's the most important profession to change the culture of kids' lives is educators. So I encourage people to do that. Going into administration, before they do that, I always encourage them to get an awful lot of experiences. When I started in administration, very seldom did you see a person be elevated to a principal's position without 10 to 15 years of teaching experience or assistant principal. But because of the shortage in education, we see a lot of people being elevated at much younger ages, and it's very demanding jobs. Administrators, especially the principals, and they're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the responsibilities that they have to shoulder is so different than anybody else, because when they leave the building, their responsibility does not stop. And they're responsible for every teacher in their building. They're responsible for every student in their building. And when you stop and think of it, 800 students and 150 employees at a building level, that's a pretty big responsibility. The other thing that I advise them that I don't think I did a very good job of through my career is your family, your personal family matters, and that you have to carve out time as teachers and as administrators for that. And if you educate your students and your parents, they will support that 100%. Oh, yeah. So I've tried to work really hard to get our teachers and administrators, especially a superintendent, to have that balance in their lives.
No, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. And with looking back on your career and just like your different experiences throughout the years, how would you say that things have changed in dealing with students and teachers? Like, what are some hurdles that you may have used to deal with and you may not now, or hurdles that you never had until like the recent couple years?
For students, in my eyes, I don't see much difference, except they're more informed, they have more resources available to them, and I personally feel like they're more intelligent. And because they've been exposed because of really having a handheld computer available to you all the time, I think you're more resourceful. And I feel that way about dealing with parents. For teachers, I think that for me, we have so many young teachers and so many young people who are doing transition to teaching, which I think is extremely exciting for students, because young people like to be around young people. And even though I really love students, I'm a little bit removed from just what students go through day to day right now. As much as I love you guys and as much as I want to support you, I have to rely on your administrators and to be able to help me understand that. But the other piece is, I think that my attitude towards how to support teachers has changed so much through the years. As the principal, I was more demanding. We are going to do this. This is the reason why we need to do this. We're going to do it for the students. As I become older and move up into these roles, I realize the importance of communicating what the teachers' needs are also. Because if teachers aren't rested and they don't feel appreciated and valued, then it's going to be very hard for them to give you that type of respect. So the last 3 years I've focused on letting the teachers know they matter and they're the foundation of our school system, and that I need to support them so that they can support you the way that they want to. And that, I think, is why it's so important as a leader to self-reflect. I've had some good years as an administrator, and I have some years that weren't so good, that I learned from and tried to do better the following year. So I think it's changed a lot, but I think I've had to change a lot too in my philosophies. But I still believe in the basic fundamental that if people know you respect them, if it's a student or a teacher, then they are going to respond.
So your time and career is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's sad for all of us involved. But first of all, when's your last day?
June the 28th.
June 28th. Okay, so I will be in Florida, but I'll send you a text.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. But so as you look back on your career, what would you say is probably your biggest success in your eyes? Like, what are you most proud of as a, let's just say for Mississinewa,
Yeah.
because obviously you've been a lot of places,
Right.
but let's just say for Mississinewa the last 25, 27 years, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of, there's many things, so I'm going to say them, but
Go for it.
the thing I'm most proud of is that almost every student, we've given them an opportunity to reach their passion, whether that is through a top-notch band, a top-notch choir, a top-notch theater program, manufacturing academy, alternative school program, Tribe University. There's just so many opportunities to be inclusive and be able to have students to explore what their passions are. And to me, that is the most successful thing that we as a school system have accomplished. And I feel really confident that that programming will stay intact and just grow in the future years, because what we've looked at is we have maximized our staff's strengths and minimize their weaknesses in providing all these opportunities for students. And we've been willing to think outside of the box on student scheduling. And when you start doing things like that, it creates more work sometimes, but it creates an environment where people want to help more. And I think that's what I'm most proud of, is all the programming. Now, you see that at the high school level.
Yeah.
What I'm really proud of at the preschool and the elementary and the middle school is their commitment to the same philosophy in after-school programming. The opportunities that students have in those grades for after-school programming in academics, fine arts, athletics, hobbies is just extraordinary. And that takes a lot of commitment on your staff's part to be able to say, this is important enough that we're going to volunteer and we're going to work after school with these students to give them those opportunities. So I am extremely proud of the atmosphere we've created for student opportunity, student growth, and teacher development.
And as a student who's taking full advantage of, like you said, my schedule is way different than everybody else with this capstone. I've gotten to take full advantage of the theater programming as well as the choir. I do think that this school does a really, really great job of not only giving you those opportunities, but making them feel just as fulfilling as, you know, being on the football team, being on the cheer team, just like all these different experiences. Yes, they're different avenues and they give you different life experiences, but you feel just as important and just as validated doing each one.
Exactly.
No, I love it.
And
So,
oh no, you go ahead.
so looking back on your career at Mississinewa, what would you say? What is your favorite memory or like interaction with like a student or a fellow administrator or teacher? What's something you always like you could like look back on it? You know, that's a good memory.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of administrators that have that like to play jokes, and probably I'll have to wait to retire before I share them because they've sure played a lot of jokes on me. But it's hard for me to define one thing that did that because there are just so many positive memories that I have. But I think the general way I respond to that, it is so rewarding for me when a student accomplishes their goal or when a teacher just has that aha moment where they just realize they did the right thing. And I love those moments, and we have a lot of those now. And that, I think, is what I really will remember, is just that inclusive opportunities for people.
Did you have a question there? Before Peyton rudely interrupted you?
No, this guy he barely got to say anything. And so we've looked at a lot of your greatest memories, a lot of your best accomplishments, you know, things you can look back on and be happy about. What do you think, and this is also an accomplishment too, what is just the hardest thing you've had to deal with doing the job over the years? Just like something that's been, you know, consistently you have to grapple and deal with it.
Yeah. Probably the hardest thing is I have to say no a lot. And I'm a firm believer there's always two sides to every story. But as an administrator and a professional leader, you have to understand the integrity of your position, so you don't always get to express your side of a situation. And sometimes that can be very difficult on your family when you have said no in a situation and they hear about it, and I can't even really share with my family the other side of that story. That's very challenging. And that's very challenging for any administrator to have to go through that. But with that said, I feel like as superintendent, we've created a much more authentic atmosphere with the principals and with the teachers and the staff to where people feel more comfortable expressing their opinions in a positive way. So that's tough. The other thing that's really different at this stage of my game is social media. Because anybody can get on social media and say anything they want. And as educators, and especially as a superintendent, you can't get on and say what you would like to say. And that's tough sometimes because all of your teachers and your administrators are parents, some of them. Their sons and daughters, their aunts and uncles, and anytime hurtful things are said on social media or out in the open, it is hurtful. And we're human beings too. We make mistakes, and that's been the toughest thing for me to work through. But I have worked very hard the last few years is to empower people that one of my favorite all-time quotes is surround yourself with people who are willing to say your name in a crowded room, and positively. And I think we're starting to see a little bit more of that among our staff, and that's a good feeling to have. But there's never been one situation where I've had to say no that it was easy, to do. But in my role, and in an administrator's role, in my case, we have 2,500 students in this school system and 368 employees. So when I'm making decisions, it's very hard to just look at one situation. I have to look at how that decision affects all the people in the community, in the school system, and on staff. And that's not always popular when someone's passionate about wanting a situation one way or the other.
So, June 28th, we already had your retirement party, which was great. It was fun to be there. But June 28th is your last day. So what's next for Lezlie Winter? What are you going to be doing after?
I'm going to be spending a lot of time with my husband, and I have a son that's in Denver. And so we're going to spend some quality time, with him. My husband gets to go out a lot more than I do, so we're looking forward to that. I'm going to do a small bit of consulting with some school systems and some higher education, just enough to keep me involved in education and what's going on. And I'm really looking forward. I love to travel, as you could tell by some of the things that we've done. And we have some bucket list places. Nice. But as we get older and the climate for Americans in foreign countries are not like it used to be, that has changed our bucket list a little bit. Because as you get older, you definitely can't outrun anyone anymore. And it's harder to find resources that you need to be able to get yourself in a position to be able to get home sometimes.
And I have one final question before we kind of get to our rapid fire stuff. But obviously, you're stepping out. Jeremy Fuel stepping in. Have you had a chance to meet with him and go through his stuff yet, or like, what's your? Obviously, we're not going to get political or anything here, but like, what's your sense on Mr. Fuel? Like, are we excited for him?
Yes.
Good.
In fact, Mr. Q and I met with him today for a couple hours, and he was at Northview. I believe that it's a leader's responsibility, whether you're the superintendent, you're the principal, assistant principal, or head of RAT TV, that when you're transitioning out of position, if you truly value students and you truly value your school system and your community, then you're going to do everything in your power to transition the person coming into your position the best that you possibly can. And Mr. Fuels, he has met with and had lunch without me there with our principals, our assistant principals and directors, our central office building and staff, and our Mississinewa Teachers Association. And he has been at a faculty meeting at our entire school system at one time or another. He and I talk almost weekly, and this summer we're actually going to be work together as we meet community members, and we're involved in a lot of grant opportunities, so we need to expose them. And Mr. Quatter has done an exceptional job in supporting Mr. Fuel as he trans over, and I think that says an awful lot about his professionalism and his commitment to Mississinewa Community Schools, to the community, and to the students. So it's been a great transition. And we look forward. I know Mrs. Townsend, our assistant superintendent and in charge of finance and human resources, you don't know her name as much. You just know all this great programming that you have. She was behind the scenes making sure it happened financially, and she's also involved in all those meetings. So he is extremely excited to come to Mississinewa because the reputation that we have and also the programming that we offer. Yes, he is very excited.
Good. We are excited as well. We just don't want to see everything that you've done kind of go down, which I'm assuming it's not. Because,
Well,
like
I don't
you said,
think you, the students, the community, the administrators, or the teachers are going to allow that to happen.
no, we're
And
not.
and we share that with him all the time.
Good. Okay, so now we're going to get into our fun segment. Obviously, this whole thing was fun,
Oh, yeah.
but we like asking some just kind of rapid fire, off the cuff kind of questions. So just give us your first response on all these questions.
Okay.
Whatever comes to mind. So the first one we always start out with is, what's your favorite breakfast food item?
Egg white bites from Starbucks.
Ooh,
that's
we
a
get
good one.
Lakeland
That's-
loves those.
That is a great choice. And what is the best Mexican restaurant in Gas City? Oh, Grant County. Grant County.
Oh,
It's a hard one. We have
that
like
is
10.
a hard one. Okay, pass. Next one.
Best
I'll come
book.
back to it.
Best book you've ever read.
The Bible.
Who's your favorite basketball team?
Mississinewa.
Professional basketball team, like in the NBA.
Well, I have to say Denver Nuggets.
Oh,
My son
you
works
don't have
for
to.
my son works for Cronky Sports, and he's
Oh,
able to
okay.
get tickets for those things. And
Well, that's
so
cool.
I'm gonna look forward to doing that. But I really don't know that many players on the teams.
Hey, what is a valuable hobby for an educator?
I think it has to be individualized. Whatever you enjoy that makes you, that is refreshing and relaxing. For me, I love to golf.
Yes.
I think someone walked in here that I've golfed with some of his family members before, but I love to
probably
read,
Jesse.
and I love to play pickleball, and
Ooh.
That's a good
so
one.
it's my goal to get in better shape than I'm in right now, and maybe even compete in the 70 and over in those categories
Hey.
competitively.
There you go.
Bring home a trophy.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what's the most recent movie you've seen?
Oh my goodness, I love movies. My whole family does. That's awful that I can't think of it off the top of my head. I just watched one, Dark Waters, on Netflix, and I'm trying to think the last one I've gone to at the movies, because we go often.
I couldn't
I
tell you the
can't-
last time I
can't.
went to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Once you have a toddler, they don't sit still
Right.
for 2.5 hours, so it's impossible.
What is the coolest business or your favorite business you've seen pop up on Main Street in these last couple
I
of
like
years?
the Nutrition Nook.
Ooh, that's
A lot of
good
people
choice.
say that. Yeah.
I like that, but I think everything that's opened up on Main Street is cool, and I think the vision that the mayor has for Main Street is going to be so exciting, and everything seems to be tying families into
Yeah.
it. And just providing opportunities for everyone with, First Fridays and the dropping of the ball and the Christmas parades. Those things are fun and they're free, and they always provide some kind of free food. So it's a great opportunity
That's a
for
bonus.
building communities. It really is. So I like them all, but I'm intrigued by that Nutrition Nook and the teas that they make.
Got some
And he
pretty
said
good
there's
drinks.
a chance for a Chick-fil-A sometimes. So.
I would like that.
Hopefully. What's your favorite drink?
Well, right now it's called the Golden Ticket from Nutrition Nook, and I believe it has. And I'm I like to kind of stick with what I like, but my young administrative team has challenged me to think a little bit outside the box. So I
Test
try
your
different
boundaries,
things, but right now that's my favorite.
All right, and our final question, because we have to get you on record saying it: Marion or Mississippi?
Oh, Mississinewa.
We have
Yes.
to every time.
It's an easy
Easy
question.
question.
That's an
Easy
easy
question.
question.
Save the easiest for last. But anyway, that's all the time we have for today.
Thank you.
Miss Winter. Thank you
very
so much for joining
Awesome.
us.
Thank you very much.
And we will catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Right.